Hey everybody, I'm Jennifer Coolidge. I'm here with ELLE UK and I'm playing Ask Me Anything. So ask me anything right now. Ask me anything. Mike White and I are, we're just very different people, extremely different people. If you went around the world and tried to come up with the most mismatched couple, it would be Mike White and myself. And it's just because, he's so organized, he has everything together, and he's incredibly articulate. Yeah, and he's been on Survivor, and he's able to go, a month or two without drinking water or eating anything, and he still feels great. We're just different people. And so being in the Serengeti and being in this incredibly intense heat, and Mike being able to it was like nothing. And I was sort of like, somehow I couldn't handle these small flights into the Serengeti. So, I was getting incredibly sick in these vomit bags, and, I'm just amazed that Mike White was speaking to me after the trip because, there was just nothing glamorous. I just couldn't handle anything. And I had this fear of snakes, so I'd have to look in the tent for 5 hours underneath everything to make sure there were no snakes. This is before Tanya. I can't believe it. So I think what Mike White thought was someone as strange as myself, like someone I remember him sort of looking at me like, how do you get through this life, Jennifer? How do you possibly get through this life? I think that got me the role of Tanya, and that worked out. Just because I've never, and I won't ever again have this happen to me, so I just want to say I want to thank Mike White for this, is just, hey, these gays are trying to murder me in a nightclub, going into a nightclub and hearing that play. So I'll never have anyone coming up with another song in a nightclub. I think Tanya's my first and last, but just that I had a recognizable song every time. It didn't matter if I was in New Orleans or Boston or LA, that I would always hear it. I went through a section of time where that was always playing in the dance lounge. That was pretty cool. That was just pretty cool. I'm obsessed with Halloween. I have a home in New Orleans, and Halloween is a very big deal, and my house is full of costumes. I think one of my favorite ones is it's a giant mouse, but not a flattering mouse, sort of a scary mouse, a very scary mouse with a giant head. I love Halloween. I love dressing up, and none of it's very attractive. And, my friends always say, why don't you be something attractive for Halloween? You might meet someone. But I don't know, it's just not as fun as something really, absurd. Last year I tried to go I was too involved in trying to make the yard look elaborate and creepy. And I got so involved that I really didn't even think of a costume. So, believe it or not, I just went as myself. And everyone came up to me and they were like, I love your costume. And I was like, I didn't get one this year. Because I dressed so weird. They thought it was my costume. I've gotten my best costumes from just a couple dumpsters that are very close to my house. Because what happens is people throw away their costumes in New Orleans, they're very sort of, anal about it. But I'm just then I don't have to pay for them. I've gone on some dates with some very inexperienced men, and when I went on this one date with this guy, we waited 3 hours because he insisted on a table by the window. And there were all these other tables available, but he was like, no, I asked for the table by the window. So we sat in the bar and, got loaded, just waiting to go for this window table. And then, people were leaving there was hardly anyone left. And we finally got the window table, and it was a window to nothing. I mean, it wasn't like a window to the ocean. People go I'd like the window so I can watch the sailboats or whatever. This was a window. There was nothing out the window. It was I guess there was a black tarp in front of the window, behind the window. And I was like, oh my God, this guy, we are never, ever going out again. I mean, he just, it was just it was some sort of weird performance. This is another great thing that happened when the waiter said, he ordered a bottle of wine, and it came to the table, the waiter opened it up, and then he poured a little, a little smidgen in the guy's glass, and the guy just sat there. And then the waiter said, "Sir, would you like to taste the wine?" And my date said, "That's all right. I've tasted it before." I come from a small town. It was limited. It was limited what you could have. Oh my God. Well, there is one story that people like the best, I think, is that when I did date these two guys when I was in Hawaii, they were best friends, and I was attracted to both guys. So I told them that I had an identical twin, and I dated both guys. There was no like changing my look or anything. I think I just like flipped my part from one way or the other side. They were both really cute, and they really didn't know. So no one's feelings got hurt. One was Wizard of Oz. I was auditioning for the part of Dorothy. At the last minute, the director asked me if I would just read this one line of Auntie M's. And the line was, "Oh, my darling child, where have you been?" I had my hair in braids and everything, and I had the right outfit on, everything. And then when they did the post of what girls got the parts, whatever, to my horror, I did not get Dorothy. I got Auntie M. First of all, I was just regretting, why did I read that line for them? But this was the worst part of the story. The entire part of Auntie M at the beginning of the play had been eliminated. So I had to sit through a 3-hour play. And I was like 12. But I had to sit through a 3-hour play to say, at the very end, I walk out and I go, "Oh, my darling child, where have you been?" And it was so not worth it. A lot of my stories are like impersonating other people. And when I was living in New York City, the nightclub scene was really hard to get into. It was really very competitive to get into the best clubs. Like, Palladium was like the one I always wanted to get into. So I kind of looked like one of the Hemingway girls. I sort of felt like I had black, thick eyebrows and very blonde hair, and I had my hair to here and things. So I told everyone I was Muffin Hemingway. I told the door guys to let me in. Even though I didn't even get the name right, it wasn't Muffin Hemingway, it was like Muffet. I was going around as Muffin Hemingway, which shows how lame I am. But it got me into so many clubs. I think one night they had a hard time like getting me to go because they were closing down the club or whatever. So they ended up throwing me out of the Palladium one night. And I remember the bouncer going like, "And stay away, stay out of here, Muffin." Yeah, I've seen better days. I think the best role I've definitely had is Tanya, that Mike White wrote. It just, I don't know, she was kind of crazy and all this crazy stuff happening. I got to have sex in the show with a very handsome person, and actually 2 handsome people. That's better than just like if you're playing the woman that like owns the garden and you're collecting vegetables, and I've had a couple of those parts too. But I like that something like Ton McQuad was just epic with how many things I got to do. Well, that's easy. That's really easy. It's Jared Hess called me up, and I'm a huge fan and friend of Jared Hess, and he makes great, incredible movies. Napoleon Dynamite is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I wasn't exposed to the Minecraft world, and I just like that. Jared talked about this movie to me, and I was like, this movie he'd come up with in the very elaborate, fun story. And so I said, absolutely, I'd love to do it. And I flew to New Zealand, and I got to see this mind-blowing world and hang out with Jason Momoa and Jack Black and Jared Hess and everything. So that was a great gift. I don't know, I got exposed to the gaming world, which I really didn't know that much about. And I don't know, sort of life-changing experience in every way. And now I'm a gamer. Thank you for watching.